It's punk rock bowling time. That's right, for the 24th year, one of the greatest festivals on earth, in my opinion, returns to downtown Las Vegas the weekend of May 25th, 26th, and 27th. I have had some of my greatest times playing this thing and just hanging out at this thing. You want to know how much this festival speaks to Turned Out a Punk's mindset? The headliners are Devo, Descendants, and Madness. Every day of this festival, the lineup is stacked with amazing bands of all types and stripes of punk and hardcore from all different eras, from ska to post-hardcore. We're talking like Bratmobile to Rock from the Crypt to Stiff Little Fingers to the Cosmic Psychos to Scowl to Chad. And then there's also all these late night after shows which are happening. And you wouldn't believe the lineup of these things, from the Zeros to Agnostic Front and everything in between. This festival is out of control for fans of punk. So I hope I will see you there, because this isn't like some sort of festival that you just go to and the bands are secluded in some sort of backstage area. Bands and fans and just punks alike are all just taking over downtown Las Vegas. So you turn around and all of a sudden you're gambling beside John Doe from X. I don't know if John Doe gambles, but if you turn around on the buffet line, you'll probably see me. And you better believe we're going to be talking about punk music. And because this festival loves this podcast as much as this podcast loves this festival, Punk Rock Bowling is bringing you a series of special episodes. So each and every week, I will have an episode going up featuring someone that's playing this festival. And hot damn, are there some good ones coming. Head over to punkrockbowling.com and hopefully I see you in downtown Las Vegas, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. Hello and welcome to another edition of Turned Out a Punk. I'm your host, Damian Abraham, and once again I'm bringing you a conversation with someone who grew up listening to punk, may or may not still be involved with punk, but had their life changed by the genre in a major way. And today on the show, my buddy, my pal, my one-time shipmate on a cruise, Shannon Shaw from Shannon and The Clams is here today on the show. And this is a fun conversation with someone who I haven't had a chance to speak to in a very long time, so we get to catch up a little bit. You'll hear that in 1 second. But first, if you would like to get in touch with me, head over to the email address turnedoutapunkpodcast@gmail.com. That is run by my brother and show producer and guest booker extraordinaire, Tristan Abraham, and he will give the message to me. He also runs a Facebook page, an Instagram page. There's a TikTok page and a YouTube page, all those for @TurnedOutAPunk, and all those can be found @TurnedOutAPunk on those platforms. I probably forgot one there. I'm on Twitter or Instagram @LeftForDamian. Support the show by telling all your friends about it. Check out the band I play in. We're called Fucked Up. You can find out more information over at fuckedup.cc. You can tell my voice that I've been yelling. So I've been yelling for a couple different things, but I've been yelling. You can find out more about what I yell about, if you don't know, over at fuckedup.cc. All right, on to today's show. As I said off the top, Shannon is on the show. Shannon is someone I have not seen or had a chance to talk to in a very long time. Years ago, I guess I met Shannon before this, but I have a very distinct memory of showing up at the Bruise Cruise that my band Fucked Up played with the OCs, King Khan and the Shrines, the Dirt Bombs. Who else was playing? It was crazy. It was an incredible lineup with everyone was incredible. Shannon's band, the Togas, were playing with Ty Segall, and it was anyway. We were not really in our. Fucked Up's always a sore thumb. You know, we always kind of stick out a little bit, and so we didn't really kind of fit in with the garage rock kind of vibe, and everyone was incredible. Like, the bands were unbelievable, but we kind of, a little bit of a third wheel kind of thing. But Shannon came over to me and, we started talking and made us feel really welcome. And yeah, we've been kind of, I guess not really Yeah, friends ever since. I mean, but like I haven't really talked. So I've been watching from afar as she's kind of ascended to this incredible. Well, she's always been incredible, but like ascended to this place in music where she's headlining shows and has this unbelievable fan base for her, and it's been a heavy journey too. And she talks a lot about that in other interviews. I'm sure you'll be hearing about that a lot. There's a lot to do with that on the new record. The moon is in the wrong place. It is a very heavy record and yeah, a beautiful record and a really stunning tribute to Joe, someone Shannon was engaged to. This is a very heavy story, and I don't really want to just gloss over it. So please check out more information at shannonandtheclams.com. There's a big write up in sort of the history of what went into making this record, and it was very, very heavy. But rest in peace, Joe Hayner. And now, we don't talk about this in the episode. We talk about a lot of other things, and this is a very fun episode. So, didn't mean to hit you with something super heavy before you listen, but it's life. So enjoy it while you're here. And for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy Shannon Shaw from Shannon and the Clams on Turned Out a Punk. Shannon, so good to see you again.
It is so good to see you. It's been a long time.
I think it's like 13 years.
No, since I saw you?
Maybe slightly, yes, but it's got to be at least 10 years, right? 8
Yeah,
years?
probably. I was trying to think of the last time I saw you. Maybe did you do were you did you do that festival in Missoula?
No. No, we only been in Missoula one time, I think, and it was just we played a show on the same day the Grateful Dead were playing, and there was like a Grateful Dead viewing party, which was better attended than the fucked up show.
Oh no, no way.
Yes,
In
yes,
Missoula?
way, yeah, yes, way, and probably better drugs there, to be honest. So
Oh
I might
yeah.
choose there too.
Good
Uh,
people watching.
yes, exactly. I because I was listening to you on a podcast, and the person asked you this question on there, which was, "Where's the weirdest place you've ever played a show?"
Whoa, what
And
did I say?
I think you said, you were like, "Oh, I played a boat one time in Sweden or
Uh,
somewhere in Scandinavia,"
yeah.
and then there was somewhere else I forget what the other place you said you played, but
Did it was it a chocolate factory in Switzerland?
yes, it was. I think that's the other
Okay.
place. Both great answers, but I think you forgot about the strangest place that I've ever played a show with you, the Bruise Cruise.
Oh my God, is that the last place I saw you?
I think that might have been. I think I saw you after that one time in maybe L.A. at a festival. But yeah, the Bruise Cruise was definitely. We've cruised together.
We've cruised together. I'm really glad you reminded me of that. That that has had a really weird, resounding impact on my life. I have some like lifelong friendships from that. Um, yeah, that is a strange time in my life.
It was
Yeah.
a yeah, not to undercut it being a strange time in your life, but yeah, definitely for me as well. I feel like it was a strange time in my life, and yeah, a tour. Yeah, a tour wasn't a tour, right? It was like it was a cruise.
We turned ours into a tour. Because I was doing this cover band called the Togas that Ty Siegel formed. So it was just me, Ty, um, Philip from the Strange Boys, and Lance Willie from Raining Sound. So, and we wore togas. I don't know if you actually saw us,
Yes, I
but
did.
it was the first panic attack I'd ever had, ever, was when we played Senor Frogs on Nassau in the Bahamas. And or do you want me to tell this
Go,
story?
please, absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, we basically when I play music, it's like have to work really hard to getting like bass lines down and stuff, especially cover songs. And we had things on our set list like Bernadette, insane bass lines, way too hard for me. But I spent like 1 month straight getting ready for this Toga's tour Bruise Cruise thing. I worked so hard getting down all these different bass lines. We were doing like the River Deep Mountain High, the Tina version, and just all these songs. And I spent so much time getting ready. Now, Ty is like a boy wonder, as we all know. He can just remember things by ear and be able to like shred it. For me, I don't work that way. So like the day of the show, he changed the set list and added all these songs, and I wanted to cry because I was just so like, no, you don't understand, Ty. It takes me a really long time. But I didn't want to like be the squeaky wheel either. I just wanted to be like this cool like person that rolls with the punches and can like pull it off. But we uh we rehearsed once with these brand new songs and I'm freaking out, and then we're getting off the ship to go to Senior Frogs. And as we're exiting, they tell us that we need visas because we had instruments they could tell we were going to go play. And we are supposed to be on stage in like 30 minutes. And did you see Senior Frogs? You have to
Yeah.
like deboard, walk through that really depressing market, and then it's like a half an hour walk from there. It it gets us down to the wire that we're finally able to exit the ship, and then they're like, "Sorry guys, you have to run full blast all the way to Senior Frogs if you want to play this show." I'm not like a runner. I'm more of
Nope.
like a puncher or something, but I'm not like a full speed runner, and everyone's like screaming that we have to run. And I don't know if you remember, but like the docks that we walk to get to Senior Frogs had like these crazy waves that were splashing over the dock. So we're getting splashed. I'm afraid I'm gonna get like swept out to sea. And I'm wearing a toga just to remind you and everyone else. And um, we get there and they're like, get on stage now. We have to cut songs. It's so stressful. I get on stage. I'm sweating profusely, and the three people that I can see standing in front of me. Now I'm thinking you were probably there too, but it was like Kip from TV on the radio. Um, well, I can't remember his name right now. Oh, Jello Biafra and Neil Hamburger. They're just the three of them happened to be standing in front of me, which did not help my anxiety. And then the sweat is like, I've never sweated like this before. It's all putrid smelling because it's, you know, anxiety. And we have to play Little Red Book, and that's one that I sang. And playing that bass line and singing is very hard. And I totally ruined it. And the whole time I was like, Neil Hammer's gonna make fun of me on stage. I'm gonna become the bit. And I just got all obsessed. And then when we got off stage, I was just like outside, literally hanging out in a plant, inside like a giant, beautiful jungle plant. And then to make things worse, that set off like a multiple day, uh, serious bout of extreme anxiety because the next day our like tour started and we went to Atlanta, and we were playing. Ty added in Helter Skelter, which luckily for me I don't have to sing it all, and all I do is basically play the top string. And so I was really anxious and bored and feeling so awkward on stage because it's already a long song, and then he like extended the guitar solo so he could get crowd surfed around, which is cool, but I couldn't manage my anxiety, so I like jump off stage during this solo, and I go get a shot of tequila at the bar. And as I'm waiting for this shot, I'm getting this hard poke. Someone's poking me. It is so fucking annoying. And I like just finish the shot and I run back to stage. And then we've finished the set. I go back to get another shot, and the poke is back. I turn around and go, "What the fuck do you want?" It's Andre 3000. And I'm like, "No way, wait." I just like couldn't believe that he was poking me of all the people in the room to poke. And he was so nice and was like, "Hey, I just was trying to like say, hey, your name's Shannon, right?" And I was like, "No, why do you know my name?" Like I could not handle it. And he was like, "Whoa, calm down, calm down." I asked like around who you were because you were awesome. You have such a cool voice and like I have some questions. And I was like, You Ty's over there. That's the person you want to talk to." And he's like, "Who's Ty?" And I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh, that's
Zing.
awesome.
And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know what I just like could not handle that someone like him would give a rat's ass about me." But I like ruined, this is like this is the biggest regret in my life. And it's funny because the Oriole works with Andre 3000. So to me, it's almost like maybe a full circle is almost there.
Yeah.
But he was like, kept being like, "Hey, calm down, just like be chill." Because I was acting crazy. I was like so starstruck, trying to get rid of myself so hard, and he like would not let that happen. He was like, "No, you're amazing. I heard you live in San Francisco." And I was like, "Oh, technically I live in Oakland." And he was like, okay, that's like 15 minutes away." And I was like, "No, okay, yeah, you're right, sir." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna be recording there in 2 months. Are you gonna be in town?" And I was like, yeah, I'll be in town." He's like, "Well, how do I get in touch with you?" And this is where I ruined everything because I was so afraid of seeming eager or afraid. I think like my Mormon background was really sabotaging me, trying to tell me like there's no way this person is really interested in working with you. They just feel bad for you. They just feel bad for you and are trying to make you feel better. So I was like, um, "Yeah, well, like, yeah, you could just, and he's like, "Can I get your contact info or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally. Yeah, you could just like Google me." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you could Google me." And he's like, "You want me to Google you?" And I was like, "Oh God, I guess so. Yeah, you just like Google my band and then you could find me that way." And he's like, "Okay, you want me to remember your band's name and you want me to just Google you until I'm able to find a way to get in touch with you. Am I getting this right?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I suck." I hate myself. And then right when I'm about to be like, "Let me get a piece of paper and write down my email," he gets mobbed. Like finally all these people see who I'm talking to and start like it just gets taken over by a sea of fans, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I gotta go." I'm like, "Wait, wait, wait, don't go." And then he left.
Oh
That's it.
no.
Sorry, this was a long intro to me.
That's an amazing story though. That is a sad but unbelievably awesome story. Because
It is. Sorry, I choked on my own spit.
no, I get it. I get all of that because I feel like there's a need to kind of self-sabotage a little bit at times
Why?
when
Why? Why do we feel that way?
I don't know. Like I think you're maybe it is like not that I was raised Mormon or anything, but maybe it's sort of this like thing that was instilled in us as young people that we have to be forcibly humble in the face of someone, or we have to dismiss something someone's saying to us and like be like, no, 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 but you know, make a joke of it or just brush it off instead of like, you know, taking it on in that moment. But
Yeah.
him Googling you is the best. That's so, uh,
And I think he was trying to give me a final chance. Like, "This is truly what you want me to do?" And it's like, of course he's not gonna do that. I mean, he's he's cool and he thought I was cool, but I'm sure he didn't think I was that cool. And I was so annoying. I was so annoying. I've learned so much. I've grown so much from that. I need to hit my inhaler. I know you thought I was a
Please.
punk, but now you know I'm an ex-Mormon and I have asthma.
Well, neither of those preclude you from being into punk rock. I promise you that.
I think it makes me more punk,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I think anyone. Well, I think that's the thing is this can provide an escape hatch from sort of these imposed morals on us, be it religion or be it parental things or like imposed cultures on us. Like going into this, I used to have such a different opinion about like Christian rock, where Christian punk, I should say, where I was like, oh, it's like an indoctrination thing. They're trying to indoctrinate all these kids. But having done this podcast, I'm like, well, no, it's also an escape hatch for kids that are looking for something outside of this religious culture that their parents are kind of putting them on. So yeah, like it just completely gave me a new perspective on uh, religion and its kind of like role on people's lives.
I love that. I am so happy that I'm someone who's always open to being like humbled and gaining perspective and learning. I feel like that's been my favorite thing about getting older is like learning that I don't know shit. I don't know anything. And to always have an open mind and um I don't know. I'm glad you said that.
I feel like there's like the one positive thing about getting all the negative reviews at a certain point online and just stuff about the band and is that it kind of was like this death of ego thing where I don't need to be like as a young person I held on to this thing so much and the definition that I had of this thing was so important to me, but now I'm like, why is my version of this any more valid than anyone else's version of this, and why is my experience more cool?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's that's a good point. Yeah.
back to the Bruise Cruise. I also suffered a nervous breakdown on the Bruise Cruise as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why?
I had recently gone off my anti-anxiety pills
Oh,
and
shit.
switched to cannabis as my medication. And uh,
Mm.
now I can kind of, meditate my way through it. But at that point, I was like, what am I going to do not being able to smoke weed on a cruise ship? And we played that first night. I didn't have cannabis. I was very tired, and my wife was pregnant, and we left our younger child at home. So I was dealing with like all sorts of things, and then we had to go on after King Kong and the Shrines and the OC.
Was this at the sailor at the like s- Sailor Jerry's or like PBR? Is this in Miami still?
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
that first
I
night.
totally remember this. They
Yeah,
really that yeah, okay.
they destroyed us. Like we went out
Ugh.
there, and it was like I was singing into nothing. Like I felt like we were like an acoustic band having to go on after the Who.
Oh my God,
It
no.
was brutal, and I don't blame anyone for walking out of that show. But then I met you, and you gave me a toga shirt, which I still have. I meant to put it on, but I had to come from this kid's school, so I didn't have a chance to
Oh
put it
my
on.
God, you still have that.
Still have that shirt you gave me, and you're like, it's double XL, and I'm like, oh, amazing, because no one gave me shirts that fit me.
Right.
And you were like, I'm really stoked to meet you. And I was like, because up until that point, I felt like we were at someone else's party in a way, because it was like, we knew the Strange Boys and we knew Soft playing as well, and we knew Ty a little bit, but like it felt like it wasn't necessarily our scene. But you made me feel so awesome and welcome. And then because we got blown off the stage that night when we did play Senior Froggies with you in the Bahamas, I got destroyed drunk to deal with my anxiety. And I thought you guys were fucking awesome, but I was also very drunk.
That's amazing. That's funny. I always thought you were a sober person, like a never been a drinker guy or a smoker.
I was straight edge for like 10 years, but then at
Oh,
30,
okay.
yeah, after having a kid, I started smoking weed, and
Yeah.
I don't drink at all, but I did that night at Senor Froggy's. Like they remember they
How
kept
do you
inter
not?
well they
How
kept
do you not
interrupting
at
our set to
Senior
hand out.
Frogs?
Yeah, exactly. They're handing out shots during our set.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, that's so true. Um, I'm really glad you have that memory of me. I've always looked up to you a lot. And actually my ex-boyfriend Max, who I think you might know Max. He was in Uzi Rash and the Trashies.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Oh, absolutely. I know. I certainly know those
Yeah,
bands. I think I must have met Max. Absolutely.
I'm sure you've met him, but he introduced me to your band a long time ago and gave me a 7-inch from 1 2 3 4 Go Records that I still have that has like a black bird on it. That
Oh, the
song?
Triumph of Life 7 inch.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I still have that.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
he introduced me to you a long time ago, just like not like in person shaking hands or something, but uh I can't remember where the first time I saw you was, but I always loved you because you were really different than other people like in the scene I was in. Like I was in like a kind of the garage rock scene. I mean, Clams have never really fit in anywhere and in a way that makes us like fit in everywhere if we want to. And but it took me a long time to get that perspective. I just always felt like we didn't fit in. We're not just a garage band. We're not just a punk band. We're definitely not a rockabilly band, and we are not a doo-wop band. But anyway, all I'm saying is the way you were different was um, you are so fucking nice and warm and make everyone feel welcome. Like I've probably seen you like 8 or 9 times, and you always make people feel good and they're in your club. And um, also, we don't see too many husky punks, you know? That's not like a common thing at all. And you just always like ooze this like kindness and confidence. And and then actually meeting you and you being like just as like kind and welcoming made me feel good because a lot of the times you meet someone and they're actually like a piece of shit or whatever, but you've always been so nice and welcoming and inclusive, and I've always felt really comfortable around you, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that. Oh my gosh, that is too kind of you. And I yeah, I feel I don't know. I'm trying not to brush that off by making a joke right now. After you said that because it was yeah really kind. But I've always been a fan of what you do too, and I feel like you were saying at that point, kind of around that time of that cruise, it felt like the last vestiges of that genre thing was breaking down. Like it used to be like, oh, there's hardcore, there's garage punk, there's punk, but it feels like in the early 2000s that was kind of beginning to break away, and now by this point I don't think genre matters really as much, or at least from an outside perspective. I'm not as into shows as I used to be, obviously.
It does not matter to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
But it was well, I guess I got to get to the first question that I'm supposed to ask off the top, which is, Shannon, how'd you get into punk? Do you remember the first time you ever came across the word?
Okay, so there's like a few points where I realized that they were kind of like life changing. It made me start thinking that direction or like, okay, so this one might be unexpected, but it's a Sesame Street. I feel like it kind of sums me up in this way, where it's a Sesame Street episode where they do like one of the music bits called Wet Paint. Wet paint, wet. You gotta maybe show your kids or just watch it for yourself.
I gotta watch for
But
myself.
it's these like punk Muppets that are like making a mess with wet paint. And I just remember like this song being so catchy and cool, and they looked so cool to me. And then uh it's I don't think it's the same episode, but it's around that same time of Sesame Street. There was there was a song called I've Got a New Way to Walk, and it's these like girl cows, and it's like a girl group of cows, and it's like I've got a new way to walk, 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 and it's just kind of like an oldies song. And I remember feeling like this is my shit right here. These two, I love these songs. And I'm probably like 4 or 5 when I saw these two videos that have like struck me forever. And I've looked them up many times, since then to be like, why did I think that the New Way to Walk song was like so badass? But I feel like that was kind of the beginning. And then my dad, when we were kids, my parents got divorced, and my dad kind of didn't know how to entertain us because he'd always been the one to like to work. He was a fire captain, so he was gone all the time on these fires all over California. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom with all these little kids. And so when my dad had us, he did not know what to do with a pile of kids. His ex-wife always did that. So he would just like drive us to Berkeley or drive us to San Francisco and maybe take us to like a mission or a free museum or like Coit Tower or something. But on the way there and on the way back, he liked to cruise us up Telegraph Avenue to the university or take us up H Street to like, I think, Freak Watch. So he would be like, well, let's go for a spin to Berserkly and drive us up Telegraph and just like look at like the punks and freaks in the of there and of Hate Street. And he loved the people watching and thought it was like fun to ogle the ogles, but or ogle the oogles. Is it oogle or ogle? Oogles.
Oogles, right? Yeah.
Ogle the oogles, yeah.
Yeah.
And we thought it was great too, but what really happened is me and my brothers all ended up being like, they look so cool. And they get to listen to whatever they want because we couldn't. We had to listen to what our parents listened to. And I think that like started to plant a little seed. And then uh when my mom left the church, she divorced my dad, and the church was extremely displeased with her because it was her second divorce, and that's like very uncool in the Mormon religion. And she was rejected at church, but would still force me and my brothers to go. And my dad was too ashamed and sad to go. So me and my brothers were forced to go to church without our parents, which just kind of left us as being like easy targets to be fucked with and rejected, or to have like the adults and the bishop like guilt trip us and try to manipulate us into getting our parents back together. So that was like my first taste of feeling like an outsider and being like rejected and having to like operate and survive surrounded by people that like no longer understand you or respect you. So I feel like that was an early, really harsh lesson that made me be able to start embracing being different and surviving while not in a place where you don't feel like you belong. Um, that was one. And then I think it was kind of all over when I was about, I'm a late bloomer. Truly, I'm a late bloomer with everything. But my I grew up in Napa, California, where adults hate youth, especially in the 90s. And what we would do for fun, because there's nothing to do in Napa in nighttime, was we would go to Hollywood Video and go to the cult classic section and just try to find something that looked weird or good or we've heard about. And we randomly grabbed a VHS tape of Desperate Teenage Love Dolls. Do you
Amazing.
know what it is?
Oh God, yeah, with the McDonald Bros, like I think it's um the guy who directed 1991, The Year Punk Broke. It is Dave Markey directed 1991, The Year Punk Broke, which is the thing that got me into punk. So anything I saw by him, same sort of thing. I found it at my video store and loved it.
I didn't even know that that was him. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. Um, but watching that like totally blew me away.
Oh yeah.
And I have like a lot of it memorized, and it became like our religion. We watched it all the time, and it made me be like, I didn't even know what Red Cross was, and then I found it, and then I just, back then I didn't have the internet, so I just had to remember that name forever, and keep an eye out for it in all my magazines that I found, or if I found something like in a CD bin or a tape bin at the warehouse. And I eventually did find more Red Cross, and then much later found their like early punk stuff and was like, this is it. This is wet paint mixed with I Have a New Way to Walk. This is my band. And I got really into Red Cross. So that was definitely like a beginning of things for me.
I
Sorry, that
want
was a long answer.
no,
They
but
don't all have to be.
I want to talk about all three. I'm trying to figure out, should I go reverse chronological order? I guess no. Let's go back chronological order. So first of
Okay,
all,
okay.
uh, I gotta look up that Sesame Street punk song because in Canada, this band Random Killing, they did a punk song that eventually got on Canadian Sesame Street. So
Whoa, cool.
the punk Sesame Street connection is real.
I mean, it's music, and there's a lot of representation of like different personalities and different. I don't know. I love Sesame Street. I know there's some haters out there, but I love it. It's so artistic too. The old ones, like what is Sesame Street? It's totally creative. I love it.
Yeah, there's like this sort of like Devo-esque quality to it where Jim Henson in another life would be doing like the Guar or the Devo of his time.
I mean, I bet Guar was totally influenced by uh Sesame Street, whether they knew it or not.
Yeah, like I think that's one of those things like that horrifying slogan, there's a little McDonald's in everyone, or
I've never heard that before.
it's terrifying to think about, but it's probably true in most cases. But like same with but like Sesame Street's like the foundation of all of us, right? Like it's the main building block that you got as a young person. I guess maybe now it's different because my kids didn't really engage with it as much as they did like Yo Gabba Gabba, but for our era, like and before us, it was the thing.
Yeah, it's definitely important to me.
Where did the cow song was that from Sesame Street too?
Yeah, it's all these like girl cow puppets, Muppets, with like I remember they have like spiky eyelashes, and it's like I think trying to be like the Supremes or the Chiffons or something.
Yeah, it's my kids started watching the Muppet Show, and so we started going through the Muppet Show and then going through all the songs on that, and they could write a
So
tune.
good.
Oh
The
God, yeah.
Roger Miller one is so good. The Mark Hamill one is so good. I love the Muppet Show.
Paul Williams, the Paul Williams one's amazing.
Oh, Paul Williams, yeah.
It's did you ever watch Yo Gabba Gabba stuff?
No, but I have heard a lot of good things.
I Paul
They
Williams was
tour and
awesome.
stuff, right?
I got to do a dancey dance, which I think was to this day the only thing I've ever done that impressed my 14-year-old. He was a very young child at the time, but
Okay.
pretty impressed. Pretty impressed
That's
with that.
great.
But now there's nothing I can do to impress him at all. Mm.
Give it a few years and you're gonna be like his favorite person.
I,
So,
I keep telling myself that every day in the mirror before he breaks down my soul. I
Oh
should edit this
God.
out because if you ever do, she's gonna be so pissed. Yeah, right. It's just being teenager and like like you're saying before, you don't realize as a parent what you're subjecting your kids to. Obviously, what you're being subjected to as a young person. To jump ahead to the next part of what you're talking about, having to go to a church where your parents have been shunned is pretty extreme. But you don't realize as a parent that like, oh fuck, everything I'm doing is fucking up my kids, and they're going to rebel and they're going to find a way to kind of like exist beyond me at some point.
Hmm. That seems so tough because everyone's trying to, pretty much everyone I think is trying to do their absolute best. And there's so much to juggle. I mean, there's so much to juggle if you don't have kids, and then you had these other little souls, and you have to take care of them physically and mentally and emotionally and prepare them for the future when I bet you still don't. I mean, I imagine you always feel unprepared personally. Like, do, are I doubt you feel like, well, I've got all the answers now. I can give them all to my kid. You're probably still figuring shit out too.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah,
Hopefully you are. We
yeah.
gotta keep learning and reminding ourselves that we don't know everything.
And you don't realize how much of the trauma you suffered is impacting who you are as a parent. And I don't mean trauma necessarily,
Absolutely.
and not necessarily extreme, but like even just any sort of thing. Like I went through a lot. My parents got divorced. I think between the two of them, 4 times when I was a kid, 5 times between the and by so
Oh,
like I definitely see how that's affected the way. And I had some weird step parents, and like just sort of like trying to counteract the shit that was put on me, so I don't put it on my kids. And you're like, oh fuck yeah, like that's I got to address that shit. That's been a part of my personality for years. That's been coming out on people for years because I haven't addressed that.
yeah.
Um, what was Mormon music like? Is it all like the Osmonds?
No, no, I mean Mormon music, I can't speak to anything that's like modern.
I meant for you, yeah, as a kid. Like, what were they allowing you to listen to in terms of music?
Oh,
Like,
I see, I see. Because in church we just sang Mormon hymns.
mm-hmm.
And I really loved the super dark, sad ones. Like those are my favorite. And but we also like in primary school, that's where the little kids go when the adults get split off, and there's like a men's group and then there's Relief Society, which is like the women's group. The little kids go to primary, and the songs we sing, like some of them, okay, my favorite one, and I'm sure it's impacted my music in some ways. My favorite one is called The Golden Plates. It's like sounds like doom. Um, I you should find it and like splice it into the show because it's the like main part is like the golden plates are hidden deep in the mountainside. It's just like I don't know, it struck me and I loved singing that part when I was a kid. And then we also had songs about like there's a song called like Popcorn Popping on the Apricot Tree. I have no idea what it has to do with being Mormon, but any fellow Mormon, I'm collecting all these Mormon rockers, by the way, because I love talking to them. I feel like that's my only, the closest thing I have to culture is like that part of my life. And I love discussing all the like primary school songs with them. But, anyways, what I was allowed to listen to was just things my parents liked. So, oldies, like music from the like 50s, 60s, and 70s, and country from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then my mom started to get into like big country, which is making a huge comeback. Wild to see.
Huge.
But yeah, she listened to like some like late 80s, early 90s country, like Clint Black, Dwight Yoakam, um, George Strait, very specific things. Um, Mostly country and like oldies, really. A lot of girl groups. Roy Orbison was like a regular in the house. Patsy Cline was a regular in the house. Uh, Marty Robbins, um, the Animals. A lot. And then when my parents got divorced, she got really into the Grateful Dead and Santana. Uh, that album with the man holding the dove on the front. It's actually there's like some really good songs on that. And I wish I could remember, but that's like what we listen to. The Beatles, big Beatles house.
Okay, yeah, so it wasn't like they cut you off from hearing like secular music type thing.
Right. Yeah. She did not, we did not, but we were not allowed to listen to um like hip hop, or I was not allowed to listen to any um what were they called? New Kids on the Block. That was like too sexy. Could not listen to that.
I
Um
concur. As a parent, I concur.
Too sexy. Yeah,
Far too sexy with their Youth of the Day t-shirts on in those videos. I don't
right.
know.
But then my oldest brother, he's 13 years older than me, and then I have a sister who's 18 years older than me. But my oldest brother, Jason, he started rebelling when we were all still little church kids and both our parents still went to church. He was not going anymore, and he was listening to whatever he wanted. And he listened to a lot of like what did he love? He loved like Accept. Do you know Accept?
Yes, that's awesome.
Man, he would like teach me and which was probably so cute for him to teach his little siblings. Because at this time, if he's 13 years older than me, I'm probably like I'm probably six, which means my little brother is probably three, and Dan's like eight. He's teaching us balls to the wall and stuff like that. But a lot of Metallica, and me and my other brothers got super into Metallica because Jason loved Metallica and Slayer, and so and I still love the like kind of like more thrashy, punky sides of Metallica and Slayer. Actually, Clams did a Metallica cover set one year for Halloween. We did Clamtalica.
That's
It
awesome.
was so hard.
Yeah, Metallica and Slayer both have that kind of like slight punk hardcore. I guess Metallica wears it a little bit more on their sleeves, but like influence that shines through.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's actually another like part part of me becoming a little punk or something.
The Grateful Dead have that one garage rock song, that Stomper, Cream Puff War.
I need to look up Cream Puff War.
It's awesome. It's on the first record, but that's
I
like the one.
probably know it.
It sounds like it's on should be on a Nuggets compilation. And if that was the only thing that came out by the Grateful Dead, I would say they were my favorite band. But
Ripple's pretty damn good.
yeah, they've got some songs, but I like there's a lot of baggage associated with that band. I think as a kid, um,
Yeah, totally.
uh,
Yeah.
the speaking of bands with one incredible song, the Osmonds' "Crazy Horse." Had you heard that as a
Crazy
kid?
Horses.
Crazy
Yes,
Horses, that's it.
that was our walk-on music for a minute.
Killer track.
It's so badass.
Like it makes you want a whole record. Because I remember hearing that song and then buying that album and being like, well, there's nothing really like this on the rest
What
of it.
happened?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's about?
No, what's it about?
It's about pollution. It's about cars and pollution.
Oh,
Crazy horses.
oh, wow, that's awesome. Which segues perfectly into our mutual friend Stephen McDonald and Jeff McDonald as well, and Red Cross, who of course cover that song. And Red Cross is probably the world's greatest band.
So good. I um I've never met Jeff, or maybe I've like shook Jeff's hand, but I love Steve. He is another person that I've met that is like, oh, you are not ruining this for me. You are amazing. You're truly so kind and respectful and fun, and like you're making me feel like I'm your peer, you know?
Mhm.
He's such a nice, good guy.
Yeah,
I was really pleased with that. It sucks when you meet someone and they suck, you know?
it does. But then you meet Steven and it makes you like, how can other people that have like a smidgen of the pedigree and the resume cop tude when he's that cool?
Totally. Yeah. And I told him the same story about like finding um Desperate Teenage Love Dolls, and he loved it. You know, he like totally wanted to hear my story. He wasn't trying to escape or bored or something. He was like into it. He's cool.
Yeah, he's like one of the most genuine souls I've met anywhere in life. And the way he loves music is so pure, like the way he supports younger bands and just like, I don't know, I just, every interaction I've had with that guy, from the first time I met him, I've been like, fuck, this is the, like, this can't be this guy that was in Desperate Teenage Love Dolls and like played with Black Flag and all these wild like experiences. Like, how can they be this down to earth and this chill?
Yeah. So down to earth, so chill. And I've played with them in a variety, well, of venues now. Like I've played with them like at big festivals where they're on a huge stage, and then have you played Siberia in New Orleans?
No. Oh, wait, wait,
Oh,
wait. Does it like a
it,
little corner in the back of a, it's like a little bar with a little tiny corner in the back?
no, you walk in and the stage is on the left and the bar is on the right, but they have this amazing mural on the wall that was like, in my mind, it's like an ice world with like, I don't know, with like orc slayer, He-Man kind of dudes.
Yeah.
But I could really be wrong about that. It could have just been like an like a cool 70s spleefy uh ice ice mountain mural, and there could be no warriors on it. I could be adding that.
Is it Matt Mussel's place?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I definitely know the place.
yeah,
That
Matt
dude
Muscle.
is the wildest dude I think I've ever met in my life.
Have you ever seen his flipper tattoo?
Oh, I did see his. Was it on his ass or his friend's ass where he had like what's his name from Judas, Rob Halford?
Oh, I love Judas Priest. Um, yeah, Matt Muscle has a giant flipper tattoo on his belly. It's like his whole belly.
Uh, he showed up. I remember the first time we played New Orleans. He showed up to this show and he walks in, and this is just maybe I don't know 4 or 5 months after Katrina, and so this
Yeah.
bar is like one of the few bars that's kind of reopened at this point, and he's in like a head to toe like white outfit with giant white shrimping boots. And he goes, "My name's Matt Muscles. Timmy sent me here to get you guys fucked up." And I'm like, "Oh, you probably want to talk to the rest of the band over there." And he got them fucked up. He got like
I bet.
it was a
He's good
wild
at
night.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
always a wild night in New Orleans, no matter what's going on. It's
yeah.
always wild.
Yeah. It's like a city that just feels like it's like a choose your own adventure novel every step you take where you're like, "Oh, if I went to this place, there'd be a whole set of things that could happen versus if I
Hmm.
go down this street where it could turn out completely normally tonight."
Yeah. One time we had an Uber driver, and he was really cool. He was rapping for us and then he gave us mushrooms. It was really wild. It felt like, okay, this is a really good New Orleans experience.
That is definitely the best New Orleans experience possible. All you need is Anne Rice and Trent Reznor to pop up, and you
Oh, I would love that.
I remember like last time I think we played in New Orleans, which was Bruise Cruise kind of era, maybe a little bit after. We played with a band. I sure probably shouldn't say who, but at the show I hurt my back, and I'm like, "Do you guys have any like aspirin, Tylenol?" They're like, "Oh, we got this painkiller." And next thing I know, I'm buck naked in the bathroom in the hotel, listening to Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Oh shit.
Like, what the hell happened? How did I get here?
How was the pain though? Was it subsided or?
Definitely subsided. I don't think I felt any more pain for the rest of the tour after that. It was once again a perfect New Orleans experience, I think.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds fun.
but where did you go after Desperate Teenage Love Dolls?
That I mean that was it. That made me start finding more music. Oh, I have one more thing to put in there. One more thing that, and I think then we have like a well-rounded, like this is the beginning, is I went, my mom took me and a friend on a little trip to San Diego, and we were walking around the beachfront on Mission Beach, and we found a club that was 15 and up. We were 15. We're like, whoa, 15 and up club, let's go. And Head PE was playing. Do you know that band?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
know they
was
never got
really,
popular here, but they were. I think they were kind of buzzed about in the States a little bit, right? Like,
I was really young, so like I thought every band was huge, you know.
yeah.
But I saw them play a bunch of times, like in California, in the Bay Area, and I was like, oh my God, Head PE's playing at this 15 and up club. We gotta go. We went. They were opening for Soul Brains, who I had
Oh,
no idea who they were. And we watched Soul Brains, and then in the middle of the set, they played uh three punk songs, and I was like, "What the fuck? This is amazing. This is my shit. I think this is the kind of music I like." So after that, I had to do what I did with Red Cross and just remember the name Soul Brains, Soul Brains, Soul Brains. So if I would ever go to a CD shop, that I could like look for Soul Brands, and I would dig through and find all these Soul Brand CDs and be like, this isn't that song that they called Sailing On. They don't have the song on. I can't find that one cool punk song anywhere. And then eventually I was maybe at Amoeba in San Francisco, and it had a card for the like section that said Soul Brands and Bad Brains. So I finally was able to find that album, be like, wait, this is all three of those punk songs that they played. They must have been a different band before. You know, it's like things were so much harder to find back then.
yeah.
And then that was another part of my beginning.
It's interesting because, like you're saying, like back then you couldn't. There's no way of finding out about these connective dots in these bands' careers because these would be separate sections. Like S and B are nowhere beside each other in the record stores. So unless it's someone at Amoeba deciding, like, maybe someone might want to know that these guys also played in this other band, you wouldn't find out.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
I was talking about it with the guy, I think from the chats the other day, where like back then it was like we were in like an information desert where you had to like search for these little scraps of information, and that was the barrier of entry for getting into this kind of music. Whereas
Mm.
now it's like an ocean of information, and you're kind of drowning information, and to find
Yeah.
this is hard in the opposite way.
Yeah. But I also have a lot of friends that like were so connected to cooler music because they had like a local record shop, or they had um they were able to get Maximum Rock and Roll or Razor Cake or something like that. Like that was nowhere near us. Like all Napa had was the warehouse, and it would just be like the popular music at the time. And then they did have dollar bins that my brother Dan, I mean, he's taught me everything about music pretty much, but he would dig in there and find stuff. And I do feel forever changed by he found a Paul Leary CD, The History of Dogs. Are you familiar?
Yeah, Paul was on the show and big fan
I
of Paul.
love Paul. I wrote to him in this MySpace days
That's
and was
awesome.
just like, I'm a big fan, Paul. Like, I probably make music because of you. And he was very nice back. But my brother got the History of Dogs CD, and he didn't know Paul's music either because um, for the information desert we were referring to, but was a big Butthole Surfers fan, and I became one too. I'm a big Butthole Surfers fan, but he just recognized his name from the liner notes and then got it, and we listened to it, and that album became like a regular occurrence in my house. This is when my mom gave up controlling our music.
Uh, I guess they're kind of like the Grateful Dead of punk, Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, totally. My brother actually had an amazing punk band called Violence Creeps. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but
Did they record?
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
gotta find this.
it's so good. And there's some music videos, but it's my childhood best friend Amber is the singer, and then my brother Dan is like the guitar player, songwriter, and then my ex-boyfriend Max, who I referred to earlier from Boozy Rash and the Trashies,
Yeah.
he played bass in there. But it was so good. I really wish that they would have like kept making music, but I think they had something come out on Total Punk.
Oh,
And
awesome.
but anyway, they're awesome.
Were they from Napa?
No, Oakland. Like
Was
I
it?
moved to
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oakland to go to college. And then both my two brothers that I'm really close with, Dan and Patty, excuse me, they eventually followed me and we're out there. They're both still there actually.
Were there any punk bands from Napa back then?
Uh, there, okay. There's a band. I'll text Patty while I'm on the phone with you and he'll get back to me.
Mhm.
But um not really that I can think of. Um I will send the text out though.
It's so interesting in California because I was just thinking about this today because I was writing something like how certain towns took to punk, and I guess it probably had a lot to do with probably religion in some cases or just like record stores and things like that. But there's certain places where there's like dozens of bands, and there's other places where there's just not that much, especially at different points where there's almost like nothing, it seems.
People tried, I don't think punk was ever very big. There's definitely like this one punk band in Napa that's been playing for a long time and now they're in their 50s. But I know that they like played a lot in San Francisco. I just can't think of the name right now. It's a really gross name. But yeah, I'm tr I wish I could think of it. We did have a record store for a little bit when I was young, when I first started getting more into getting my own music. Because my mom used to do these dumb things like um, buy me a stack of blank tapes and then buy Dan the CDs. And he was so mean when I was a kid, like at this time, where she'd be like, okay, Merry Christmas. Dan, remember you have to make your sister copies of all these CDs. And he'd give me this evil grin, and it's like, of course I would never get the tape, but I did steal the Weezer CD and make a copy of the Blue album and was totally obsessed. And then he found it and was pissed that I stole his CD and erased all of my liner notes that I'd handwritten in.
Oh my God.
I know, he is such a punk. He's just like classic Big Brother for like 10 years or something. But oh God. Oh, I will give this cool punk fact about Napa is the Cramps played at Napa State Hospital, which I worked there for 6 years of my life, and my mom worked there um, from when she was like 16 till she retired this past summer. She retired at age 75. So She
What
has worked there since the 60s.
was she there when the Cramps played?
No, she wasn't there when the Cramps played, which I don't understand how she wasn't there, but I think she was on maternity leave at the
Ah,
time. But she was so semi-conservative at the time. If she knew a band like that was playing, she would have called the fucking police. But my grandfather was the fire chief there for a long time. I have a lot of history at Napa State Hospital.
wow. Was
Yeah.
so would he have had to approve that event as the fire chief, like with like some sort of fire permit or something, or
No, they did this. This was no. This was very put on, very DIY. I
because
don't think they got permission from anyone.
I looked into it, yeah, because there was like a podcast I listened to with, I guess it was like an arts instructor there that somehow was involved. I can't remember. I got to reread this article or podcast or whatever I listened to that got the information for me.
Send it to me if you find it. Yeah, I definitely take a lot of pride in that, and but actually know so little. I would like to find out if that person still lives in Napa, whoever got the Cramps to play. I mean, that's amazing. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, I think
But
that. Oh, go on. Sorry.
you could never get away with that now. It became so back then it was just mentally ill people or people who back then they would put lock you up if you were an alcoholic and try to give you therapy that way, and or if you had like severe postpartum depression, you could end up in the state hospital. Or if you were mentally differently abled, I don't remember the current way to say that, but if you were differently abled, you would end up at the state hospital. And they just had different wards. They had a children's unit. You had like 5-year olds and 13-year olds and stuff, like all in the same area. But when I worked there, it had become um, a criminally, like a hospital for the criminally insane. So felony penal code patients. So really dangerous. It was like you went through two security gates. There's a huge electrified fence around the whole thing, and yeah, it's different now than then. But my mom's seen it all. She like grew up on the grounds because my grandfather was the fire chief, and our grandmother worked there too. She had a bunch of different jobs, but they had housing for staff. It was like a village back in the day. It was like its own mini city. And so lots of people that worked there lived on the ground. So my mom grew up there with all her siblings. Um, and what's weird is this, I mean, this place is right across the street from my dad's house now. It's still there. But I used to longboard to work. Yeah,
Wow, that must have been a very intense place to work, I imagine. Like at any point, it sounds like it would have been an intense place to work, but certainly when you were working
totally.
there.
It was intense, but I also loved it. I grew up going with my mom to work before it became strictly for criminally insane people. It was more open. Like she would bring me to work, which now I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why were you bringing me there? But she would take me to work with her sometimes. And when she would be on maternity leave, she would work part-time for her friend who ran like a group home for developmentally disabled adults. And so I grew up just like around um, like different types of people and felt comfortable doing that. So when I worked there, I like loved the patients, the clients. I loved working with them. And my job was I worked in a grocery store cafe that served clients and staff so that it would give them, I believe that the purpose was sure to provide like products and food and coffee and groceries and toiletries, but I think that the main idea was to give the patients a real life experience so you feel like you're part of the world. You're not locked away from society all the time. You have a social place to go gather, and they're with staff too. So it's like you could be eating a sandwich next to a doctor. But then we also trained clients to run the cafe. So most of my staff was criminally insane people, and they had to have a certain amount of clearance in order to work there and have to be close to being safe enough to release. So, most of the clients I worked with were like, they were awesome and like hard workers and were grateful to have the job and um yeah, I liked it. The problem was the staff.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine like you're dealing with people that maybe don't have the empathy or had the empathy at one point and maybe lost it in some cases. But yeah, I can imagine that would be a difficult thing to deal with when you got staff that you're not seeing eye to eye with things on.
Right. It's supposed so it's a state-run facility and the state has made just wild amount of cuts. And it's like the people who are affected are you know, patients and all the staff there, but then, obviously like teachers have suffered so many cuts too. And it's like that's where we need to be focusing our energy is like education and mental health, I think. And um it's really sad when you can see like a patient slipping through the cracks because people don't care. I've had clients on my working um for the cafe, and you see them slip through the cracks and then they eventually lose their job because the people who are in charge of their care are just like not don't give a shit about them. They're just there for their paycheck or whatever. But also because the state had made so many cuts, um, they would take like instead of hiring like people who are educated in mental health nursing, and instead of having like five nurses on one unit, like five like mental health nurses, psych techs on one unit, they would have one and then the rest be LVNs that don't have any training with mentally ill people. And so that starts to make it more dangerous and there's less education. People know how to work with them less and less. And so and they replaced, like I said, it's its own village basically. We had a full hospital police staff. But then they started to save money, these budget cuts. They'd have one hospital police and then like 10 security guards. And we all know that's a huge difference. And so it just became really dangerous and really, yeah, super dangerous. And people just were not getting the care that they really needed. Or the therapy. They would cut all these therapy programs. When I started, they had a music program, and people fucking loved that. They had taiko drumming, which was like really good. Drumming feels good. I don't know how to drum, but I love to beat one drum.
Yeah.
Um, and it feels good. You're like connecting to a part of yourself that you can't just tap into walking around in life.
Hmm.
So anyway, I went on a serious friggin' tangent.
No, I find it fascinating, especially because I find that performance of the Cramps, it's up there. Like I think that and the crime at prison are the
Oh yeah.
two most infamous punk performances, right? Like I can't think of too many other ones. Fear on Saturday Night Live, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's right, Berkeley. Oh, my
But
brother wrote me back. There's a band called Rude Intoxicant
rude
that
intoxicant. Okay, you got me digging on some stuff now. My Napa knowledge has got to fill in a little bit.
there's not a lot yeah, there's not a lot coming out of there.
The I'm interested to hear what your perspective is on that Cramps performance because I think over the years I've kind of like looked at it in different ways, and so what were your takeaways when the first time you saw it, and when did you first see it? Even
This is terrible. I haven't seen it.
you've never seen it? It's on
No,
YouTube now.
I know. I know. I think that's why I haven't seen it is because I want the I want to be set up. I want the experience to be just right. And now I think that's like a weird excuse because I'm embarrassed that I haven't seen it. But yeah, I feel like I've seen it. I've seen clips, I've read articles, I've watched people talking about it. It's kind of like, do you have any like classic movies or like a movie that is everyone, like Repo Man or something where everyone around you has seen it and you're supposed to see it, and then eventually you're like, I don't know why I haven't seen it yet. It's too late for me. And I know it's not too late. But no, I weirdly haven't seen it all the way through. I've just seen clips of like patients dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When I first heard about it, before I ever saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is probably like super exploitive, or this, that, or like the Cramps are doing this for these motivations." And then once I saw it and saw the interaction between the performers and the people present, the people that live there, uh, I realized like, oh, there's something really genuine about this thing, and you can tell the people there are having a good time and they're enjoying what they're seeing. And not that there's like necessarily a therapy component to it, but there is like this sort of really special kind of, I don't know. I find it an interesting performance. And then when you do eventually see it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, like the whole way through. I mean, not that you can't pick it up from these clips, I'm sure.
Yeah, from the clips I've seen, it it what makes me feel good about it is I bet that the dude putting it on was like, this would be so fucking cool and weird. But it kind of doesn't matter because they were having fun.
Hmm.
And I feel like bringing some normalcy or normalcy, normalcy,
Normalcy.
normalcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Into their lives, I think is what's gonna be really helpful. I think it would be so isolating to live there and just have, what the state is offering you, but to have a little slice of real life come in, I think could be grounding, even though like the Cramps isn't everyone's cup of tea. I remember seeing quite a variety of different kinds of people in the audience watching. I think it would be like thrilling for anyone.
I don't know if the Cramps ever played on a cruise ship, but they did do 90210 in Napa State Hospital, so they kind of have us beat on that front, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
But we got the cruise ship on them.
Yeah.
So, this has been awesome, and this is taking far too long to happen. Um, Anytime you want to come back on this thing, Shannon, you are always welcome.
Thank you. I mean, I would love to come back. I feel like I kept taking all these hard lefts, but I think they were all fun.
Oh, absolutely. That's what this podcast is built on. The,
Yes.
the hard lefts and the bereavements and the non sequiturs, because yeah, that's, I don't know. There's like a lot there, then, and obviously there's a lot more to get to. And anytime you want to do it, cruise ship or not, you're always welcome.
Thank you. So good to see you, Damian.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on the show. And you heard right there, Shannon will be back for part two. Check out this record, The Moon is in the Wrong Place, everywhere now. An incredibly beautiful record. Check out all the stuff that Shannon and the Clams did and have done up until this point as well. Rest in peace again to Joe. Check out the stuff she did with the guy from the Black Keys. She's an incredible voice, an incredible songwriter, and just an incredible person. You heard it right there. Check them out on tour. They're on tour right now. Find those dates over at shannontheclams.com. And that is that. All right. I guess I go back to telling you guys what's on the next episode. No, let's keep it a surprise. That's it for today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember, as always, Black Lives Matter. The lives and issues faced by Indigenous peoples all over the world matter. We need to protect trans kids and help trans people protect themselves and their rights and stop hate and violence towards people of different races, faiths, identities, nationalities, because this isn't politics. This is just basic human rights. People deserve to be able to live free from hate and discrimination. To see so much hate and so much discrimination happening right now, it's important not to forget these things. Ceasefires aren't political. They're just basic human rights stuff. what someone chooses to do with their reproductive systems, that's just basic human rights stuff. So support organizations that are affecting positive change in your community. Get involved if you can. Speaking of getting involved, punk gets better when you get involved. Obviously a little less pressing. But anyone can do this shit. Start a band, start a fanzine, just write something. Anyone can do this. Sign your organ donor cards, because by the time they come looking for those organs, you don't need them. Try meditating. If I can do it, anyone can. It's really took me a while, but it does help when you start doing it. And I think that was it, right? That's what I normally say. If I forgot anything, I'm sorry, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. Bye. It's punk rock bowling time. That's right, for the 24th year. One of the greatest festivals on earth, in my opinion, returns to downtown Las Vegas the weekend of May 25th, 26th, and 27th. I have had some of my greatest times playing this thing and just hanging out at this thing. You want to know how much this festival speaks to Turn Out a Punk's mindset? The headliners are Devo, Descendants, and Madness. Every day of this festival, the lineup is stacked with amazing bands of all types and stripes of punk and hardcore from all different eras, from ska to post-hardcore. We're talking like Bratmobile to Rock from the Crypt to Stiff Little Fingers to the Cosmic Psychos to Scowl to Chat. And then there's also all these late night after shows which are happening, and you wouldn't believe the lineup of these things, from the Zeros to Agnostic Front and everything in between. This festival is out of control for fans of punk. So I hope I will see you there, because this isn't like some sort of festival that you just go to and the bands are secluded in some sort of backstage area. Bands and fans and just punks alike are all just taking over downtown Las Vegas. So you turn around and all of a sudden you're gambling beside John Doe from X. I don't know if John Doe gambles, but if you turn around on the buffet line, you'll probably see me. And you better believe we're going to be talking about punk music. And because this festival loves this podcast as much as this podcast loves this festival, Punk Rock Bowling is bringing you a series of special episodes. So each and every week, I will have an episode going up featuring someone that's playing this festival. And hot damn, are there some good ones coming. Head over to punkrockbowling.com and hopefully I see you in downtown Las Vegas, May 25th, 26th, and 27th.